How about we start our class today seated? So find a space on your mat that is comfortable, and you may be seated with your legs crossed because that's how you sit, or you may be seated with your legs out, however works for you. Even if you need a wall behind you, that's perfectly fine. And then resting your hands onto thighs, let's close our eyes. And I would love you to just gently shift forwards and back, roll forwards and back from your pelvis. A little movement onto front sit bones and back sit bones and maybe left sit bone and right sit bone. What we're essentially doing is giving our body and our spine a moment to find its natural alignment, to balance ourselves out. And then finding stillness, finding your center. Your eyes closed and your forehead soft and your eyelids soft and your cheeks soft, and let your lips soften, your jaws, your tongue. Relax your shoulders. Maybe you want to wiggle them forwards and back a couple of times, or lift them up and drop them down. Our neck muscles have this tendency to hold on to our shoulders, forgetting that their job is to hold our head instead. So let your shoulders drop. Trust that they will fall into place and rest right there. And eyes closed, maybe gently rubbing your hands forwards and back on your thighs, just feeling the fabric of your skin under hands and the inner palms. And then I invite you to turn your palms up, curl your fingers in. And have a moment to feel the insides of your hands. And for those of you who've been here a while, this is one of my favorite little coming back to here and now practices. If you lift your hands for a moment, without looking and without moving, just asking the questions, how do I know my hands exist? How do I know my hands exist? Without moving, without looking. And if that's a bit challenging, maybe do one hand. How do I know my right hand exists? And moving it over to the left hand. And notice how you have to really focus your attention. You really have to sharpen your awareness to feel the hand from within. And the longer you stay with this, so when I have a super busy, really off-center day, I stay with this for a few minutes. So the longer you stay, the more sensations arise and come up. And there's no judgment, no seeking anything. We're just seeking to find our hands. And then drop your hands back down onto knees. Stay connected with the sensations in your hands, and then challenge yourself to spread that same sense of focused, sharp presence into your body. So let it spread. Maybe gently asking yourself, how do I know my knees exist? How do I know my feet exist? How do I know my shoulder blades exist? And guide your attention there and feel, sense those spaces. Start filling this moment with a deep, deep sense of curiosity. We're so used to believing we know who we are and what's happening and, oh, I know, that we miss out on most of life. So this moment is an invitation to remember to forget. An invitation to remember curiosity and let that guide you. Imagine this is the very first moment you are in this body on this planet. Let your curiosity be that deep. And fill it with loving kindness, with compassion if there's spaces within you that feel tender today, that need a bit of nourishing and nurturing. Starting into the week, Monday, there might be a lot of stresses and a lot of thoughts wrestling for your attention. Make the conscious choice to let those be for now. Make the conscious choice to remember your true being, the spaciousness and essence that you are. Maybe you set an intention, a specific intention for your practice today. My intention for the class I've prepared is to guide us out of head back into being. To remember that all the stresses, all the thoughts are nothing more than stories. There's a space within us that is much bigger, vaster, more spacious, more powerful than any thought we can possibly think. So, staying here, turning your palms around, rest your hands on your knees, slowly open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, start moving forwards and back. So you roll onto tailbone and then you roll onto front sit bones. So rolling onto front sit bones and rounding onto tailbone. And the movement is pelvis generated. But let your spine follow. Stay with it for a moment. And also witness and notice with a deep sense of curiosity, how does my breath align with this, and where might I feel stuck, where might I want to use the extra breath, and just flowing, starting to really delve into your inner inquiry, letting your body guide you, no wrong, no right, no good, no bad. And the next time you roll onto front sit bones, dropping knees down in a way, in your own perfect way, and just flow your spine forwards. Maybe you want to add another inhale for length and exhale deeper forwards. Keep your sit bones grounded evenly. And feel as if you're sinking into mat. So no resistance, knees not holding up, but they're dropping downwards. Chest softening, chin to chest, and roll yourself up to sit. Roll your shoulders back, bring your hands back and away onto mat, your fingers spreading wide. We step our feet onto mat, hip wide apart. We lift all our toes up, spread them out, bring them down onto mat. So really conscious, curious. As you lift your hips to hover, feel the soles of your feet, feel where the weight is, and then shift your hips forwards and back, stretching into wrists. Notice whether the shoulders are rolling forwards or back. Maybe you circle around the wrists, notice where there's maybe tension in the shoulders. And if you feel up for it, squeezing elbows towards one another, lifting hips a little higher. Really lifting high, shift your weight towards the feet, lengthen your thighs, squeeze your glutes and lift a little higher if it feels right for you. And we'll slowly come back down. Let's cross our legs the unfamiliar way. So we all have a habitual way of crossing our legs and an unhabitual way. I don't really remember what is what anymore. Hands onto knees, hinging forwards and back again. Rounding out, arching. Let it flow naturally. Really smooth movement in the hips. Activating the lymph system, the movement, the opening up the muscles around the hip joints, and then next time folding forwards, softening forwards again. Gently sway this time, swaying side to side, eventually swaying over towards right knee. Walk your hands over to the right, and then fold over your right knee. Keep your left sit bone grounded. And then moving through center over the other way. Left side, right hand maybe on left hand, and grounding down, level out your collarbones, your shoulder blades. Breathe space into where it's tense or tight, coming back to center. And then lifting your gaze, lifting your heart, coming up. Reach your arms out to the side, spread your fingers wide, and gently roll one palm forwards, one palm back. And then go the other way, one palm forward, one palm back. Twisting. And start rolling your shoulders. So one shoulder rolls forwards, the other back. The rotator cuffs are warming up. The shoulder blades, feel them slide up and down. And notice, where's the challenge? Where's the challenge? Become curious to this thing you're living in, this body allows you to experience this moment. Good. Coming to center, and then we'll bring our hands back into and grab our elbows. Bring them as close as you can. If you grab your wrists, that's great. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your heart, lift your gaze. Open the collarbones wide. Let your shoulder blades slide down. Stay with it. And then as you exhale, you hinge forwards from the hips one more time. Let your arms rest heavy on your lower back. Delve a little deeper into your hip joints. Relax your legs, your thighs, and come up. See if you can hold on to your elbows as you lift your legs, your knees, and dip your toes onto mat. You might need to keep your toes on mat. Notice how your arms help you stay long. So your shoulders roll back, your hands press gently into lower back, and maybe the feet can lift up. And maybe you can spread your toes out wide, have gaps between all the toes. Good, and lift your heart a little higher. Can we lift the toes a little higher? Can we lift our heart a little higher? Let's let go of elbows, lift our arms up, inhale. And then wrap your arms around your legs, hug them in tight. Now find the space between sit bones and tailbone and lengthen a little taller. And see if you can lift your feet and point and flex your feet a couple of times. Point and flex, very good. We let go of our legs, we cross our legs, bring our feet close in and roll over feet onto hands and knees. Spread your fingers wide, have your hands under shoulders. Ground your knees under hips and have a look, your shins are parallel, your feet hip wide apart. As you inhale, you lift your sternum forwards, you lift your sit bones up. Slide your shoulders away from you. Gently point your elbows to back corners of the mat. And then exhale to round it out. And again, flow with your body. Flow with your breath. So listen to my words, but make what you feel be way more important than anything I say. And flow with your breath. Deep sense of curiosity. You might find a bit of a tenderness underneath the right shoulder blade, then guide a breath into that. Giving your body permission to say what's alive in it this moment. And then we slowly find our way into neutral spine. So long spine, from tailbone into neck, into crown, really long. Elbows gently tucked in. We slide our right foot back. And then just tucking toes, shifting into heel, pressing heel gently back. And then let's lift our leg. Flexing foot as if you're standing on the back wall. And notice how your shoulders might adjust. Keep shifting your weight into the lifted leg side, so you're not collapsing into left. And then turn your right toes to the side. If you need to have a look, have a look. Good. And then see if you can bring your leg out to the side. And then point the toes and bring the leg back. Flex again and bring leg out to the side. Bring your foot down onto mat and lift yourself up onto knee. Good. Now we're up here on the knee, hips parallel. We open arms out to the sides and we reach towards our right leg. Reach to right leg, reach, reach, reach. Check your hips, make sure they're parallel to the mat, long and lifted, and the hand drops and the other hand lifts. Very good. And lengthen from knees through the torso into fingertips. Lengthen and lift, reach and expand. And wherever it's tender or tight, guide breath into it. Be really curious, especially with the things that are uncomfortable. Very good. Let's come to center. Center yourself out. Be consciously aware of your left toes, those on the mat behind you, and then let them balance you. So you lift your leg, you're balancing on your knee, and all 5 toes are helping. And we relax our mouth and our jaws, and we breathe. Find something that allows you to center. Breathe into navel, and then left hand comes down. Rise the leg up, rise the arm up, bring the leg a little higher. A little bit higher, a little more. Yes, knee comes under, the hands come down onto mat, you're back on hands and knees. This time your left leg stretches out. The toes are tucked under. We gently stretch the back of our left leg. Lift your navel, lift your center. Rise into the space between shoulder blades and then lift your heel. And just be here. Be long through your spine. Tuck your elbows in. Point your left toes to the side. And then wander your leg out to the side. Can you bring it in line with hip? Is there a difference between left side and right? Point the toes away, bring the leg back. Flex the foot again and reach the leg out to the side. Hold it here for a breath and bring your left leg down onto mat. Lift yourself up onto right knee, left leg. Your foot grounded into mat, heel and knee in line, hips parallel, arms through the sides and up. The shoulder blades slide down and we reach over to our extended leg. The arm comes down and we reach. And we reach all the way from knee through the hip, through the side body, into fingertips, in our own perfect range of movement. Take breath into the pose. Breathe into it. Breathe into what's uncomfortable. Be present with it and make space for it. And then center out. Find your right knee, find your right toes, lift your left leg, center into navel. Wiggle your toes, let them help you balance. See if you can shift your hips forwards, release your chest back. And then bring your hand down, rise your leg, rise your arm. Lift your leg a little higher, shift your hips forwards, lift your leg higher, and a little bit more. And down, inhale here. The knee comes under and the hands come back onto mat. Find your plank. Have a look at your wrists, make sure they're parallel. Have a look at your hands. Feel your hands connect with mat. And if your knees need to help in your plank, they may. Look slightly forwards, tuck your elbows in so they point to back corners of the mat. Extend your tailbone down, lift your navel up and in. And just be here for a moment. Be and feel and breathe. And notice how uncomfortable it might get. And my friend, when we go run, he always says, you need to push the I out the way. Take the I out the way. This is kind of what we're doing. There's the I that says, oh, I don't like this. I hate it. I can't do it. This is rubbish. This is boring. But there's a space within you that can do this, that can find ease here, no matter what. Find that. Find your breath. Find that fire within you. Take one more big inhale and exhale it into down dog. Shift your hips back, adjust your feet if you need. Shake your head no and nod your head yes. Notice the fire you've created in your center. Feel your hands ground evenly, elbows gently pointing to back corners of the mat. See if you can strive your sit bones a little higher. So down dog is a beautiful pose to reset and really let our head hang, let our heart be a bit more prominent than the head. Be in the world upside down, stretching, opening the back legs, the heart, the shoulders. Let's move back into plank from here. So shoulders above hands, heels above toes, and let's stay here for another round. Find your center. Lift your navel up to spine. Make sure your shoulder blades are reaching apart. Ground into index finger base. And scan your awareness through body. Notice where you're holding tension that you don't need. So maybe you're grinding your teeth. Maybe that's not needed, or you might be contracting your legs where it's not needed. So be super efficient here and find ease and peace in that. Let your body shake and continue to guide your breath deeply. Take another inhale and let's exhale it back into down dog. Gently shake your head no and nod your head yes. Let your body soften. Shift your weight into left foot, rise your right leg up. Just your right heel up to ceiling. Your left heel dropping into mat. See your left foot. Lift and lower your left heel. See how your foot and your ankle moves. Is it twisting? Move it in alignment. See the pinky toe, feel the pinky toe. Right leg down, left leg lifts. And again, maybe lifting, lowering right heel. Keep your left heel lifted high. Witness your foot, how it moves, where the weight is. And left leg back down. Look at your hands and then walk them to feet. Feel the mat under your hands. Slide your feet onto, your hands onto feet and shins and knees and lift up. Roll your shoulders back. Hinge forwards from the pelvis and then gently drop forwards. Your knees may be bent. Arms drop. Sit bones rise. And gently sway left foot, right foot, left foot. Wiggle your toes. Find your groundedness. Find that inner spaciousness. And we bend our knees, point our tailbone forwards. We ground to roll ourselves up to stand. Rolling up and rolling shoulders back a few times. As if you're unfolding your wings. Open up wide. Let your fingers slide down to earth, the crown rising high. And then hands back, palms facing forwards. Lifting into sternum, pointing into tailbone as you rise your arms to the sides and up. Grab the space above you and draw it towards you so your ribs and shoulders can sink. And then shift your sit bones back as if there's a very high chair behind you, sitting down onto that. Now cupping your hands onto knees. Just gently shift them back and away. Check your feet, they're hip wide, pinky toe sides parallel, wiggle your toes, and then lift your arms again, Utkatasana. Find the longest line you can create from tailbone into neck, where spine meets skull. So you might need to use your glutes to gently point your tailbone away, lift your navel, and really make yourself long. Every inhale makes you even longer. With every exhale, you relax into this challenge. And continue to breathe. We take another inhalation. As we exhale, we fold forwards from the pelvis, tummy onto thighs, and allow yourself to hang. And your knees are allowed to be bent as deeply as they need to. And then we look forwards, lift our gaze, lift our heart, and we walk our hands to the front of our mat. Once we're here, we roll onto outside edge of left foot, stack our right foot on top. Good. And can we lift our outer right hip up to ceiling? So the legs are doing like a side plank and the hands are doing a down dog. And then if there is a little more in you, maybe the right leg can lift up. So both feet are flexed, pressing into pinky toes. Right shoulder and left shoulder parallel to mat. Your head just hanging. See if you can lift your right pinky toe a little higher. And be with it wherever you are. Whatever it is. Love it and embrace it. Smile and fill yourself up with joy. And leg down. And plank. Beautiful. And from plank, we check the other side. We roll onto outside edge of right foot. Left foot stacks. And then we press our hands forwards as if our hands are doing down dog. Relax your shoulders. And then press right pinky toe towards mat. Press left pinky toe to ceiling. Keep lifting. Keep reaching your hands forwards. Stretch out your legs. Really push into outside edges of feet. And it might look easy for me, but I'm shaking. Trust me, this is hard work. So keep going, keep breathing, challenge yourself. And the leg down. And inhale into plank. And exhale into down dog. Well done. Down dog becomes child's pose with your knees on the mat, your toes pointing back, your forehead onto earth.
Maybe keep your hands reaching forwards or you bring them back in line with feet. I really enjoy gently rolling left and right here. Gives my hips and my back an opportunity to soften. And then look forwards, bring your hands forwards again. And creepy crawl them as far forward as you can. Really walk them forwards. Hands come flat, fingers spread wide. And then round yourself forward. So your hips lift, you round forwards, and then your hips drop and your spine unwinds. Your sternum lifts, your shoulders slide back and down. Your sternum lifts up high. Tuck your elbows in. So you're really strong through your center. And then again, coming back up, rounding back, rounding back. Sit bones land on heels as you come forward. Let your shoulder blades slide apart. Rounding up again. Rounding and flow in your own pace, in your own perfect way. So the hips drop. It's almost like a wave flowing through your spine. And feel free to pause wherever you need a bit of extra time. And we'll do another 5 of these. In your own pace, sit bones to heels, hands forwards, flowing. Trust your inner body. Trust your curiosity, sharpened awareness and presence. Wherever you need to add on or wherever you need to explore a little further, feel free to go there. Remember, in life there's no wrong or right. There's no good or bad. Something that's true for one might be completely wrong for another person. So find yours, find you, and trust what you find. And we'll meet in our child's pose. And from our child's pose, we'll slide our hands in and round ourselves up to sit on heels. Beautiful. Roll your shoulders a few times. Come up onto knees. Have a look. See your feet pointing straight back and your shins parallel. Hands onto front hip bones. Lift them up. Press your hips, your thighs forwards. Point your tailbone down. And this might be enough. Remind your navel to lift up and in. Check in. Heartbeat. Still beating. Slide your shoulders down and away. Let your arms hang. And bring your hands onto thighs, and you might, through this, be able to open a little further into heart. You might be able to open a little further into hips. You might be able to reach your head back and stay where you're at. Strong in your glutes, strong in your navel. And if your hands can come onto heels today, you're welcome to go there. If your head feels like coming back, maybe that's where you need to be. Wherever you're at, create space. Use your inhalations to make space and stay with it. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with the unfamiliarity. And slowly coming back out, we land on our hands and knees. We draw a few circles around our wrists, with our shoulders, with our hips, softening out. Maybe gently arching and rounding the spine in a very gentle and organic way. And then we tuck our toes and lift our knees to reach our hips up into down dog. See if here for a moment you can ground into right hand only and lift the left hand without right shoulder contracting and slide your left hand to outer right leg or heel or knee or thigh or ankle. And gently twist, looking past your right armpit up to ceiling, poking your sit bones up high. And can you lift your toes and spread them out? Very good. Let's bring the left hand down onto mat. Ground it. Lift your right hand. Make sure your left shoulder is not taking extra strain. And then reach your right hand to outer left leg or ankle or heel. Looking past your left armpit and lengthen your spine. Poke your sit bones up. Reach and lengthen. Let your head hang. space, be curious. And right hand comes down onto mat. Inhaling into plank. Having a brief moment here. One inhalation, one exhalation. Another inhale, and we exhale into down dog. Reaching hips back. Now our right leg lifts up to start. And we look forward. See the space between your hands. Elbows still pointing to back mat. And then as you come forwards, knee into chest. Knee into chest. Lift your foot, lift your shin, lift your knee. And back again into three-legged downward facing dog. Keep looking into the space between your hands. Long spine. Coming forwards. And now lift even higher. Press the mat away. See where your foot's going to land and have it land right there. And you might need your hands to help the foot. Find your heel landing underneath your knee. And then we'll find our left knee on our mat for a moment. We'll point our left toes back. We'll sway our hips a little. Opening left hip flexors. Left hand grounds into earth. Right hand onto knee. Gently lift your heart. Slide your shoulder blades to hips. And really drop your tailbone, drop your pelvis as you maybe reach your right hand up or up and back and away. So as you reach your arm back, make sure it opens your chest. You're not just moving the arm, you're opening your heart. You wiggle your toes, you soften, you find a bit of space into your hip flexors. And then we'll bring our hand down onto mat. So fingertips on the mat, hands shoulder wide. Let's tuck our back toes under into this sort of lungy position. And check your feet are hip wide and really strong and grounded because we want to lift up into standing, into this warrior shape. We inhale through center, exhale our hands through the sides, claiming space, taking space. Hands onto hips. So hands grab the pelvis, align it with your mat, and then take a bit of time. Maybe you shift forwards and back, or your hips sway left and right, or your back knee drops and lifts. And lift your gaze, lift your heart at the same time. Remember your shoulder blades sliding down to hips, and keep your elbows nice and wide. And sense yourself into this very powerful, very strong pose. Notice whether you're comfortable with it or then uncomfortable with it. Really acknowledging. From here we reach our arms out to the sides and we hinge forwards. And let's bring our hands slightly towards the hips so they become like wings, our palms facing down to earth. Lift your heart, lift your gaze. Guide it from there. Find your right foot and then lift your left leg up. And reach it up. Very good. And feel into it. It might be turbulent today. Feeling into it. Step it back, bending right knee. Step your left foot down. Rise your arms up. And let's find a different variation of this. So this time hands come onto knee. Holding the thigh. Trusting the thigh. Onto right foot. Keep the knee bent, left leg rises, keep the knee bent, maybe the chest drops and the leg lifts a little higher. You can have your hands on your thigh. If you want, you can bring your fingers onto the mat and stop where it's true for you. If you stop with your knee bent and your toes on the mat, that's great. If you want to go a little further, that's beautiful. Make sure your neck is long and your heart is open. Let's all find our way back into lunge warrior. Rising arms up. A bit of a celebration of yay! Amazing, these things my body can do. Yay! And then hands onto mat. Ground your hands, let your hands become feet. And slide your right foot back into three-legged downward facing dog. If you want to open the hip here, open the hip for a moment. Make space. Feel free to huff and puff or pause and come down. Foot down, knees down, child's pose. reset for a moment. If you need a sip of water, welcome to grab or just be here. Reconnect with curiosity. Reconnect with being in awe, with moving this body through space. And there's breath, and there's heartbeat, and there's emotions, and there's thoughts, and notice how amazing all of that is. Like the best movie you can ever watch, if we don't get tangled up in it. Let's come back into plank. And then plank becomes down dog. Whew. And down dog lifts the left leg up high. Reaching it up, lifting the heel high. Look forward, see the space between your hands. Notice how that changes the leg lift. And then coming forward, shoulders above hands, knee into chest. Get the eye out the way, just breathe and be with the experience. Take all judgments and labels away of the sensations you're feeling. Shift the leg back. Look forward, come forward. Make a little more space and then step your foot to land between hands. So left heel lands on the left knee. Feet hip wide, right knee comes down, right toes point back. Fingertips in line with front heel. We gently sway. We want to make a bit of space around hips. Stretching into hip flexors. Making space into all these muscles are really uncomfortable to work with. And facing the challenge with a smile in your eyes, a smile on your lips, a bit of breath. Left hand onto knee, right hand stays under right shoulder. And then you open your left chest back, twisting, sink a little deeper into hips, open left arm back, roll your shoulder blades down, open heart, lean it back in your own perfect way. Breathe into it. Every inhalation, you expand. With every exhale, you soften. And then the hand comes forward. The fingers make these domes alongside the heel. The back toes tuck under, the back knee lifts. And we rise up into our lunge warrior. Very strong pose. Lift and lengthen, and as you exhale, your hands move through space. Feel the space move through your fingertips. And then hands onto hips, align your hips with the front of your mat, and again, play. What can you do to make space? How can you bring your pelvis to be upright? Can you align your pelvis with the front of your mat, and then lift your heart and lift your gaze? Be the most majestic you can possibly be. Make this look as if it's the easiest thing you've ever done in life. Shine your light. Align yourself. And then arms come out to the sides and they gently drop to hips. Feel your collarbones wide and your chest opening up. And with a big, wide and courageous heart, we move onto left foot. And the right leg might be able to lift. Courageous heart, looking forward. Nothing holding you back. Breathing, being spacious, stepping foot back. Rising arms up for a moment, still everything parallel towards the front of the mat. Hands come down onto left thigh. Okay, now we deepen into left leg. We slide our foot in. Can we keep our left leg bent? And yes, it's burning. For me too, I promise. Burning. Maybe the right leg can lift. You might stay here, or maybe the chest can drop, or maybe the fingers can drop. And the leg lifts a little higher. And feel free to play around. Maybe backing up again or going a little deeper. Check whether you're still breathing. Check your toes down here. Are they holding on to the mat? Find lightness into it wherever you're at, whatever your body can offer today. And find your foot back on the mat. Find your arms rising high. Celebrating. Beautiful. Hands come down onto mat. They ground and left leg reaches back. Three-legged downward facing dog. And if you like, you open the knee upwards. Maybe you circle your ankle. Soften your neck. Shake your head no. Oh dear. What did I get myself into? Nod your head, yes. Bring your leg down, have your big toes touch, and then ground your knees onto mat wide apart. Big toes touching behind, settle your sit bones onto heels, and then rest your chest, your torso into the space between your knees. And let yourself soften into the mat. Maybe your forehead, your third eye is on the mat. Let that be an opportunity for all sorts of thoughts and stories to just go. And notice that we can either be present, we can either be here and now, or we can be in our thoughts. We can't be both at once. Connecting with breath and whatever else is present. And then roll yourself up to sit. Hands onto thighs. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Feel your legs, the fabric of your pants under hands. Feel your heartbeat. And notice whatever is alive within you right now. There might be a tenderness or a vulnerability, and just be with that. Be with that, not pushing it away by drawing up into head, but really being open and present with it. And we'll shift onto knees. Bring our knees to be hip wide, our shins to be parallel, and keep our hips above our knees. So have a look, hips above the knees, and then rest your torso forwards, your chin onto mat, or probably the forehead. And then gently draw your lower ribs up and into navel as you sink your armpits down to mat. And your upper shoulders, your upper arms might resist, but just go with it, flow with it. Check into feet. When I do this, I notice that my toes sort of curl in and my feet tighten up, so soften there as well. You want to melt into mat. You want to bring your heart all the way down into mat. And it's not about achieving that. There's no goal. It's just the direction, the intention. And letting go of all goals, of all achievements, but really exploring this body as it is, this moment. And then slide forwards onto mat. How about that? Elbows under shoulders and your forearms parallel and your hands flat. And then lengthen your legs, your feet hip wide apart, or if you can, your big toes together. And then slide your shoulder blades back and away, lift your heart forwards and up, collarbones wide. If there is a bit more space, maybe you press your hands into mat and the elbows lift. Tuck the elbows in towards one another and lift a little higher. Squeeze your glutes to lengthen tailbone. Squeeze your navel to lengthen lower back. Squeeze your thighs, lengthen a little higher. And elbows out to the sides, forehead onto hands or onto mat. And just relax here, pause here for a moment. Consciously guide your breath into lower back. Let your lower back open and soften. And in your own time, slowly bring your hands in line with lower ribs, or hands on the shoulders, somewhere in line with rib cage. Elbows tucked into hips, and draw your elbows to heels as you lift your chest. And just that, roll your shoulders, soften your shoulders, lengthen out. If there's a little more space, you reach your hands back, hands facing towards thighs or maybe to mat. And if there's more space, maybe the legs can lift too. Reach them up. They're welcome to come apart. Reach your heart, reach your legs, lift your navel, breathe deeply. See if you can lift your hands and legs a little higher. And then exhale down. Hands rest alongside hips and bring your whichever cheek onto mat. Your cheek onto mat and rest. Notice your heartbeat as your chest rests on mat. center your head, center your gaze, lift your head, hands in line with ribs. Gently lift your chest. Point your tailbone away, find space. If this is enough, it's enough. If you want to lift your feet, lift your feet. If you want to go further and your hands reach forward, maybe that's where you're at today. Contract the entire back side of your body. Lift your thumbs up to ceiling, lift your legs, lift your thumbs, lift a little higher. Bring your arms through the sides, hands in line with hips, lift a little higher. And exhale down the opposite cheek onto mat and rest. Breathe wide and spacious into back body. Feel your heart beat. Be curious and explore. And then we'll bring our hands in line with lower ribs. We'll lift our gaze. We lift onto hands and knees. We shift our legs out one way and come to sit. And maybe move yourself slightly forward to the center of your mat. We'll cross our legs. We'll sit high and tall. We let our body recognize this. With our hands on our knees or thighs, we just notice, we check in. Is there a difference? What am I feeling right now? And then let's flow forward. So hinging onto front sit bones, walk your hands forwards and fold forwards. Relax forwards. Soften your knees out and away. And bring your chin to chest, roll yourself up to sit, rounding through your spine and rolling your shoulders back and away. We bring our hands out to the sides, slide them out and away, and lift them up through the sides to ceiling. And now just swap your legs the unfamiliar way. Sit onto the tips of your sit bones or onto the fronts of your sit bones and check into shoulders. Are you squeezing them up? Relax them down. So making this an effortless pose. Effortless as can be. And then we twist. Whichever way you want to go first. The front hand comes onto opposite thigh and the back hand onto mat behind you, or it comes around and grabs your t-shirt or the thigh. And build the twist from your pelvis up into crown. Continue to slide your shoulder blades down and open your heart. Every inhalation, there's a big lift through the heart. Every exhale, you twist and soften. And stay here. Witness and notice how your body evolves and flows with it. And then coming to center, rising arms, softening shoulders, noticing, and going the other way. And it might need an extra moment because our body is still twisting that way internally. So taking time, your hands come down. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to lean into myself, to soften into myself? Turning the head as well, and not just your gaze, but imagine you're looking with your nose. So you really want to bring your nose to shoulder and roll the back, shoulder back. And coming back to center, hands onto knees. Let's circle around the sit bones a couple of times, arching as you come forward, rounding as you go back, arching and rounding, and then moving the other way, drawing circles around the sit bones, feeling into the space we have created. And then center yourself out, lift your knees and step your feet onto mat. And from here we roll ourselves down onto mat. You might need to hold on to knees or just roll down one vertebra at a time. If you feel like rolling back up one more time, you're welcome to do so. And roll it down, long lines through the spine. Rest your arms up and over and keep your lower back on the mat. So wiggle around to really feel your entire back body imprint into earth, and then lift your feet up. So your feet are stacking above your hips. If that doesn't work for you, then you're welcome to just bring your knees into chest and rest your hands onto knees. If this is easy for you, or you feel like going a little further, maybe you dip your knees to land on forehead, or maybe you dip your feet to land on mat above your head. And just taking this as a moment to widen, to guide your breath into lower back ribs, to lengthen into tailbone, to release it out, stretch it out. And then rolling the hips back down onto mat. We all grab behind our thighs and open our knees towards our armpits. If you can, bring your shins perpendicular. You're welcome to perpendicular to the mat. And then either grab your shins, or maybe you can grab your outside edges of your feet, or your inner heels, or you hook your big toes with your peace fingers. There's a million variations. Choose what works for you today. Or choose something you've never chosen before. Let this be new. Let every yoga practice be free and new. Roll around from side to side, dipping your knees onto mat if you can. Wiggle around, happy baby pose. Be as happy baby as you can be. And we come to center. We hug our knees into chest and squeeze them and hug them in. And then check into yourself, see if you need anything else on your way to Shavasana. So if your body needs to twist or to stretch or to be upside down, welcome to go there. And then in your own way, find into Shavasana. Shavasana, the best and most difficult yoga asana of all of them. So lengthen out. The challenge lying in being present in relaxation. So most of us know how to be focused and present when we are challenged, when we have a task to do or work to do or numbers to sort out. But to stay that sharp and that focused with stillness, when we're not moving, when we're not contracting, not balancing, not thinking, that is the challenge. So as you lie down, close your eyes. And as you've shifted around, make the conscious choice to be still from now on. Still and yet sharp as a knife. So noticing that our bodies become still and our mind sneaks in and takes us onto these journeys of thought. At least that's what happens in my experience. And then I continue to draw my attention back. I continue to draw it back to breath. So I find an anchor. This Shavasana is at essence a practice in meditation. So in my meditation, when my mind wanders and runs off, I set the intention of anchoring my awareness. So it becomes a workout for the mind to shift your focus and attention at will. So a beautiful anchor is breath, because it's kind of neutral and always there. Another anchor might be sounds outside, or maybe birds, wind. Or an anchor might be the insides of your palms, just feeling them. Maybe asking that question, how do I know my hands exist? Or doing the same thing with your feet. And noticing that practicing mindfulness, which essentially is what we're doing, it's not airy-fairy at all. It's work, it's challenging, and it's difficult. And we might find, as our mind keeps drifting, that a judgment comes in. We judge ourselves, or
We become upset, annoyed, emotional patterns play out and roll out, and then those two want to be observed and witnessed. Those things too are nothing but thought. So again, we come back to anchoring our attention. Again, we come back to building that muscle of using our minds in a skillful way. And filling each and every moment with a sense of kindness and lovingness for ourselves. Embracing that being busy in our heads is part of the human condition. But it can be worked on, like any muscle can be worked on. So being kind and patient with ourselves. Being compassionate with our vulnerabilities and our fears and doubts. Being understanding that the stories we hold in our heads are there for a reason. Yet at the same time understanding that it might be time for a new narrative. It might be time to step out of these old programs and remember that life is infinite and potential is infinite. And that's essentially you can be and do and think and feel anything you want, anything you choose. Let this moment anchor you in that knowing. The knowing that you are good at essence. That every being is good in their hearts and whole within. And see if you can stay connected with that as you deepen your breath and take a few deep inhalations and exhalations. Staying anchored with that spaciousness within as you step back into moving. And being kind with yourself, but resisting this notion of me and my body. But see this body as a body, as an experience. Find your way back up to seated in your own perfect way. Sit in a comfortable position, your eyes still closed. Let your body stack. Let your spine stack. Let your shoulder blades slide down. Bring your hands onto heart. If your hands are cold, maybe you rub them first. If they're warm, stack them onto heart. And let light shine from your palms into heart. Let this light flood you with love and kindness. And just feel. Anytime a thought comes, come back to feeling space underneath your hands. Feeling your goodness, your kindness, your compassion for self and others. We'll bring our hands together, thumbs onto forehead to gently soften the forehead, the space between eyebrows. We inhale together, rising, and we exhale to bow to our hearts, our inner wisdom. I thank you all for having joined, for joining today. It was beautiful practicing with you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. Send you love and light, and I thank you. It's such an honor to be sharing this with you and guiding you, and thank you.